Yeah, no, that cruise control's not on.
There you go. You guys done with this?
Yep.
Did the Emperor have you pull out?
Well, I know, Jody Bomberger texted me and said Mount Vernon Plankington pulled back, you know, and,
Well, it just
Yeah.
doesn't want that snowing.
Well, hopefully Friday, it sounds like the weather forecast maybe a little bit better.
yeah, but I also didn't realize until today I'm gonna be missing some FFAers, which is good. I mean, being involved with FFA is important
I
too,
know,
so.
it
Put
is.
out a little higher.
I'm not sure where they're going. That could be, you know.
Do we put these in here then? Cindy? Or just give them you?
The meeting down in Western Springs, it was just Miller and.
Everybody see it down there, Dale?
Yep, we're done.
Okay, we'll go
I think,
right
talk with you sometime later this week.
No.
about that.
There was only one, Western Springs and St.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can,
Was it snowing?
snow in the morning or
No,
not?
it was nice, it was nice,
If it's not, year round tomorrow.
It's nice and everything, it's just like, I just can't believe it.
I also understand.
so.
We ain't doing anything until at least May.
Now,
Dale and I
You
are
know.
all gone.
I'm having this conversation, so I can say I had this conversation, so just call me when you get over.
Will do.
Hey, Will, will 10,000 cover?
No, I don't know.
We just finished up some of the busiest week we've had in a long time.
I really don't have any idea.
Who's that?
We'll see.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
well, I kinda did.
It comes out
And
four
just thought,
times,
well,
four different
maybe
days
it's
this
okay.
week. You would've been out for this. Were you coming?
So you're making a decision, yeah.
I still remember.
No.
He doesn't show up very fast.
Is it time, sir?
What's that?
Okay, there we are.
You talking to her?
No, I thought you were.
What's-
If it was time, I can't-
Oh, yeah, no, we're still good. And if I bring out my phone, it's only to be, you know, to look at the time.
Close.
already signed these, looked through these? Probably, well, they can sit there, I suppose. Pastor Will, you would like to start?
Let's take a moment and pray. Father, thank you for your grace and your mercy. Thank you for the gift of salvation. Father, thank you for the gift of the moisture that's falling outside. Father, we know we'll need it in the spring. And Father, thank you that spring will get here eventually. And Father, I pray that you would keep everyone safe as they drive home this evening. Father, as we come to the end of the winter weather, hopefully, Father, I pray that you would keep the city employees safe as they are out in this and working. Father, as they're out working on the roads, keep them safe and keep those that are driving past vigilant. And Father, I lift up the mayor and the city council tonight. Father, I pray that you would give them wisdom that only you can do as they conduct the business of the city. Father, in your Son's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
No, he didn't.
Okay, being at 7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order and begin with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would, looking over the agenda, entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Second, have a motion, a second, to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes, no. Motion carries. Pages 1 through 3 deal with the minutes of our last meeting on March 18th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
Second?
Discussion. Motion and second to approve the minutes of our last city council meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Public input.
I just wanted to introduce, Landon Gabb. He's out there. That will be in Ward 2 in May.
Very good.
So
Welcome,
welcome.
Glenda. Betcha.
Good
Is that
evening.
on?
I got a green light. Good evening. Today I had a very bad electrical problem at my place. I was out almost the entire day from 8 o'clock this morning until after 5 tonight. Just like to thank Dustin and Devin and Dan for working very hard all day in this weather to get us back up and running. We are on a temporary thing until they can get everything fixed, but they do have us up and running for tomorrow, so I just want to publicly thank them and tell them good job.
We appreciate
Every time they
that.
met an obstacle, they just figured out a way around it, so
All right,
I
very good.
appreciate
All
them
right.
very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much,
Thank
Jan.
you.
You betcha. And anything else? I'd like to, again, thank Shayla for her 10 years of service and congratulate Cindy on her new venture as Chief Finance Officer, and
you.
you betcha. So looking forward to moving on, and wish Shayla the very best. Anything else? Hearing none, the next thing on the agenda are department head reports on page 4 through 10. Any questions or? Ron, is Ron here?
Yeah,
Yep, he's out there.
Ron, that shed down by the ballpark or that you guys been working on or worked on, that's now completed?
99%, yeah, I think there's a couple little things that's weather related, but for most part, everything's done.
Okay.
Yep.
And then also, thank you for the working on the, playground equipment and stuff of that sort. Was there any concern or anything that, wasn't that your department that was down there working on that?
Yeah, we fixed there's a digger that needed bushings. We put that together. Took a little while because they were kind of odd shaped. So we just kind of jerry rigged it. But I think it'll actually be better than it was. And then there's I don't know what you call it, but you grab it with your hand and slide. We had to order a special, actually a skateboard wheel and bearing is what they were. And it took us a while to figure out where to get them. And we got that back together. So basically, all we're waiting for now is for the smaller kids. That thing got hit with a tree last year, and the guy was in town twice last year, or in the state within here or something like that, twice. And they're out of Missouri. Well, it's not like you can look at part numbers and order stuff. So we finally got a hold of them, and they gave us the part numbers and stuff, and we got that ordered. I don't know how long it'll take to get here.
Okay.
Once it's here, we're supposed to keep track of our time, and insurance will pay us. So
Okay.
minus the deductible, I'm sure. So,
All right.
but a headache it's not like a truck breaks down, you can find a part for it. This thing is kind of its own company and makes its own part. So.
Uh-huh.
No.
Okay. All right, good. Very good. Any questions with regard to any of the department heads?
I don't believe I put in there, we'll be sweeping streets as soon as the ground seems to be firm. That sweeper's really heavy, and the side of the street along the curb is the worst place it's right where the tire is, where the weight is, and it's the softest part of the street. So we're gonna stay away until I think it'll handle it, and then we'll go. So I wanna get it off as soon as we can, but the roads tell us when we can do that. So, and
Okay.
it doesn't make a difference on what road. Some roads are better than others for whatever reason. So.
Okay. Very good. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Terry, I noticed it's on here, and you might come up and talk about that, but the airport inspection by the South Dakota Department of Transportation Office of Aeronautics, I believe that's on this page 6. Basically, I'm gonna read this on behalf of Terry. Thanks for taking the time to meet with me when I was there on Tuesday for the annual airport inspection. The airport looks excellent. The only thing was the trees at the end of the 33 that we discussed, and that you already have planned to get trimmed. Please let me know when the ground firms up and you can get them trimmed, and then contact him with any further questions. So, appreciate that feedback from the Aeronautics Division of the DOT. So, okay.
Yeah, them trees are over to Ames's house, so we'll have to talk to them.
Okay. All right.
Thanks,
Very
Terry.
good. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Any other, anything else with regard to the department heads? Okay. Hearing none, before we have you, Mike, Ted Dickey from Northeast Council of Government is on his way, and he plans on being here. He's going to initiate our public hearing, and he's going to give us some particulars with regard to Phase 4. So if he's here at 7:15, we'll stop, and then we'll proceed wherever we are. So, Mike, did you want to speak on behalf of the American Legion's plans and events?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to kind of go through some upcoming events for the next few months. We did get all the materials to put flags up on Main Street to, on the south end down there like we talked about previously, so those are in. We have quite a few days coming up here, starting on the 18th of May for Armed Forces Day. Then Memorial Weekend, we'll be putting them up again. And then Flag Day, which will be June 14th, over the 4th of July weekend. And also on the 14th of June, at the Flag Day ceremony, we're gonna be doing a ceremony out at the Legion grounds there like we did last summer. So we will be destroying all the damaged flags that have been turned into us over the year. If you have any out there that need to be turned in, please get them to us here the next month so we have that. We will do a joint venture again with the Polo Legion on that and the VFW, so we'll all be out there for that ceremony.
Okay. When is that again, Mike?
That is June 14th.
Okay.
July 4th weekend, I haven't seen when the city of Miller is planning all the events or whoever puts that on for that. I haven't seen the dates on that yet, but we're planning on hosting the four-wheeler rodeo again out there. And we will be serving alcohol on the grounds out there that day. So I wanted to make sure, per our agreement, that I let you know that we'll be doing that. And then we're also in the discussions of having a bull riding out there on the 20th of July. That date is still kind of up in the air right now, and we're in the initial ones, but hopefully within the next 30 days, we'll have that firmed up and get the advertising out there. And that will also, we'll probably need some assistance from the PD and the sheriff's office out there for that event also. We'll have some parking out there, parking attendants, and we'll have some crowd control. But we may need some additional assistance from the police force. I don't know. I haven't ever been here for one of those, so I heard they get kind of raunchous, so.
They're fun. Let me ask you this, and not, I know, last time when Alan, had them out, I know Bill was, him and his crew did an excellent job putting up light poles with regard to them. Are those light poles still up out there? Or are you gonna need something like that?
We will need lighting out there. I know there's 4 poles still out there,
Okay.
and I think they've all got power to them. I think there's lights on all of them, but I'd have to double check
Okay,
that to make
all right.
sure that they're operational, or if they're switch lights or not. I don't know if they are switched or. Plus, we'll probably be bringing in some spotlights, like the DOT, construction lights or something like that for around there also.
Okay, all right.
That's pretty much the events for the summer that we have planned out there. Also wanted to just touch base a little bit. We're finalizing the floor plans for the addition. They're at about 98% right now. We just got a couple minor changes to make on that. I do know that some of our members have talked to your folks here at the city and kind of coordinated some of the utilities hookups and what we're gonna do for sewer, water, electricity on there. So we'll continue to do that once we get those finalized, get a set of plans up so that we can make that connection and where our entry points are gonna be into the building. How we're gonna do it, metering, if we need shut-offs, whatever out there, clean outs, that type of thing. Get that finalized here on those plans. Also, we're hoping to get started with our construction here as soon as the weather permits to get things going and at least get started out there, so.
Good. Okay, any questions for Mike? Having the
One thing I would say is typically the Miller CNC sets the dates and stuff for
Okay.
the parade and stuff like that.
And I checked online, I hadn't seen anything on that yet, so.
Yeah.
I know, I believe Tala and, Mr. Norton at the school are part of the CNC still.
Okay. That sounds good. We'll
Yeah.
work on that, and like I said, we plan on doing it in conjunction with whatever else is planned here, so.
Yep.
Well, also, with anything else. With that, this last week or so, I had an opportunity to be out there for a benefit and commend you on all the upgrades that you've done out there and stuff, so
Well, thank you.
you
It's-
betcha.
We got quite a bit of support here, and membership continues to climb, and we're getting more and more volunteer support. Even from non-members, there's been quite a bit of support from the community here to help out with different, whether it be painting, or whether it be supplying meals, or whether, other things that they've done out there, so it's really helping out on
Yeah.
fundraising.
Well, you had a good group that assembled, and members and non-members, so they all need to be, commended with regard to that, too.
Well, thank you.
You
Thank you,
know,
Mr.
the inside, but also around the outside, too, so.
Well,
yeah,
thank you.
You're welcome, all right?
Thank you.
Do we have more chairs out there? I feel better if everybody that, we have okay. Yeah, everybody will,
Sass wants to stand.
okay, all right,
Okay.
that's very good. Okay. We'll just, wait, for item number 2 on the agenda until the 7:15, and then we'll open the, public hearing. And for the record, I'm looking at my watch, so I'm on time, not that I'm expecting any text messages or I'm looking at any scores.
We thought maybe you were watching the
Oh,
game.
why not?
Mayor, could we have one person speaking at a time? It's real, if this many
No,
people here.
yeah.
One person at a time.
And please step up to the
Loud
microphone.
enough that you can.
Yeah, well, I would ask them to step up, because for the record, I think that's one comment that we hear, because we do have a number of people that listen in on, from home, and they've made the comment that they would like, if people are commenting on something, to please step on the phone up to the microphone, so they can, hear the conversation or anything of that sort, so I appreciate that. And I'm sure Ted is going to also allude to this. This is just more a discussionary purpose. Nothing's going to be decided tonight other than the possibility of moving forward with applying for a grant. That's it. I mean, we're not going to approve Phase 4 or anything. We've got to know what's in place before we, pursue it. So, but we, so. Just so everybody realizes that. Okay, 7:15, Ted. For those of you who don't know, Ted Dickey is our representative for the Northeast Council of Government, and he's our go-to person with regard to any grant application or any, everything that, I know for I don't know how many years you've been there, Ted, but there's a lot of, the fire hall and a number of other things in our community. Ted helped spearhead the grants with regard to that. So on behalf of the community, we want to, thank you for all you've done and all you're going to hopefully continue to do for us. So with that, go ahead, Ted.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, Ted Dickey with Northeast Council of Governments. I'd like to start tonight by saying I had a unique experience last Thursday. I was in Aberdeen at the Barnett Center, watching my son throw a shot put, and my phone rings. I don't recognize the number. Normally, I do not pick up any phone calls that I don't recognize, but it's like, I got another couple minutes here, and so I pick up the phone. Lo and behold, it was your mayor on the line. Says, I don't know if I'm going to make the meeting.
Yeah.
He says, I'm a little bit nervous about not being there when this topic is getting brought up, and so we talked about it a little bit then, and so I said, I will bring it up when I'm at the meeting,
Yeah,
regardless
yeah.
of if you're there or not. So
Well, the roads weren't what they should have been this morning when we decided not to go to Brookings today for a track meet. So, anyway, thank you for that, so.
So tonight, what I have Thank you. Tonight, what I have is we did a public hearing notice to discuss the Phase 4 application for the water. In this case, it's just water funding that we're going after. Right now, the wastewater funding is in place and a portion of the water is in place. But I'm gonna go over a couple of different items and then give what I call the worst-case scenario, what the city's rates are gonna go to if the state only awards a loan for this application that we're turning in. So the first page I want you to focus on has Phase 4 project costs on the top, and it has some yellow on it. This is just showing what the project is in the first set of rows, and then where the funding's coming on the second set of rows. So the Phase 4 project costs, we're abandoning wells. The cost of that is $41,300. Water storage improvements, water main improvements, engineering costs. So that brings the total project cost to $5,629,900. The DNR funding that we're requesting is $1.1 million. And then what you're seeing there in the yellow, these are all grants and loans that are already in place for the Phase 4 project. So the city has already pledged their current ARPA grant of $226,842. The state is matching that with $226,842. The state has also provided an ARPA grant in the amount of $2.619 million. And they've already awarded a drinking water state revolving fund loan in the amount of $1,460,755. So total project cost at the bottom there's $5,634,263. I'm off by about $4,000. I just rounded up on the 1.1 million rather than trying to bring it down to a really odd number. And so I just put it in for 1.1 million. So that's where we came up with that. Next, if we want to flip the page over, this is where I'm going to present the worst case scenario tonight. So the top set of rows there just talks about the number of users, average gallons of use, and multiplier, and I'll run through that. So there's currently 672 domestic or household hookups in town. And there's 158 business hookups. Now this number goes up and down each month. I mean, it's never a static number. The average use is 5,000 gallons, and that's just what the state uses to level the playing field. So they say, if you're on a municipal water system, we want to see what your rates will generate per 5,000 gallons. And so that's where you see that 5,000 gallons in there. The current rate for domestic hookups is $65.79. For business, it's $80.50. Again, this is per 5,000 gallons. For domestic, that should generate $44,211 per month. You take that times 12, and it should generate $530,531. Same with the business, that should generate $152,628. Now, this is in a perfect world. Numbers don't change. Everybody pays on time. There's no new hookups. There's no late fees. This is what the city should collect in if everybody uses 5,000 and pays everything on a per month basis. So it's not perfect. It's a ballpark figure.
Let me stop there. Is that what we charge? I mean, what do we charge for domestic and business? Do we have that number? Okay, and we'll look at that too and have you go on. I should have asked for that. I don't like to ask things that without giving them a heads up a little bit. So we'll try to find that out too. What is this a recommended, the 65?
That is the current rates.
That we are charging?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the okay, good. All right, thank you.
If the city were to use 5,000, if a household hookup was to use 5,000 gallons, they should get charged $65.79 for that 5,000 gallons.
Gotcha.
So the next set of rows there has a loan amount. There's actually two loan amounts. The first one there shows a $1,460,755. The state has already awarded that, and so I just wanted to run that quickly across. The state gave you a 1.875% loan rate on that. This is back in March of 2022 when we first started this. And a term of 30 years, the monthly payback is $5,308.38. The yearly payback is $63,700.56. Now, the next column over is 110% debt capacity. The state requires you to collect an additional 10% up and above what your payment is, and they use that as a buffer just in case you have a month that you go down significantly for some reason and don't collect it in. They want to make sure you're collecting an additional 10% over and above what your payment is. So in this case, the 110% debt capacity is $70,070.62. Again, this funding is already in place. The next line down is the 1.1 million. That's what we're applying for to the state. The rate is going to be up to 3.75%. It may be 3.25 depending on how they classify it, but I have to give a worst case scenario of 3.75%. At a term of 30 years, the monthly payback is $5,094.27. Yearly payback is $61,131.21. And then we get to that 110% debt capacity number again, and that is $67,244.36. Again, it's got worst case scenario. If they award only a loan, that's what the city would need to generate under 110% debt capacity.
Yeah.
So then we go down to the bottom set of rows, and it starts with amount need to increase. That dollar next to it represents for each dollar that you raise on the water side, that should generate $9,960. So it just, for every dollar you increase, should raise just under $10,000 for the city, and that's on a yearly basis. So the next column over talks about current rate. So the $65.79 should generate $683,159. If we look in the top right, that matches the number on the right-hand side of that the city should generate if everybody pays on time. The next column over is phase 4, which is loan number 1, and that's the one for 1.460755. The amount need to increase in order to afford the phase 4 loan number 1 is $7.15. Then the next column over is the phase 4 loan 2, and this is for the 1.1 million. The city would need to, if it's all loan, generate an additional $7 in rates per month in order to afford that loan. So the state is already, your current rates are already $65.79. The state's already given you one loan that will increase that amount by $7.15 if you move forward with the project. We're applying for another funding package from the state for 1.1 million. If they awarded all loan, again, this is worst case scenario, it would need to increase another $7 above that $7.15. So if you add the current rates plus the phase 4 loan number 1 rate of $7.15, plus the phase 4 loan number 2 at $7, the new rate per household for 5,000 gallons would be $79.94.
Which would be an increase in about,
Over 14.
It'll be an
$14.
increase of $14.15.
okay, all right. I just want to make sure and that's the worst case scenario.
That's the worst case scenario.
Okay. Okay.
So, again, this is just providing information. The city is already awarded, the city has already passed a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the application. The application has been emailed to the state this afternoon. The mayor's gonna sign it tonight, and we're gonna officially send it in. But we made the April 1st deadline. At the end of June is when the state will make a determination on what your funding package will be. And then at that point, the city's gonna need to make a decision if they wanna move forward with the project. So right now, we don't know, we know this project will at least cost $7.15 if it moves through, but we don't know what the total is gonna be until after the meeting in June for the Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources. So that meeting is gonna be, I think it's the fourth Thursday in June. They make the decision, we'll come back sometime in July, inform the board at that point what the rates are gonna need to go to, and then the city will need to make a decision on that.
Okay.
So, is there any questions for me tonight?
Does this, all aspects of what we're looking at as far as phase 4, with the water and the sewer and everything, is that all the aspects of it?
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't talk about the wastewater project. That was, they awarded that back in March of 2022 as well, when they awarded the water side of it. On the wastewater side, that was roughly 900,000, but I think the town has reduced the scope of that project down to only include, was that the Donlin addition?
Donlin, yep.
So on the wastewater side, the city's just focusing on Donlin, nothing else.
And I think that's approximately 500,000.
Yeah. And so we are also shifting money away from the wastewater over to the water, but that still leaves a $1.1 million gap in funding that we need to apply for, which we are applying for.
Okay.
So we are switching some money from the wastewater side over to the water to cover some of the costs already.
Okay.
Hey, Ted, you said that, worst case scenario would be that the loan would be, the $1.1 million. So what is there a percentage? Could be loan and could be grant, like what is the top percentage that they could award in grant and loan? Usually it's.
It can go from 0 to 100.
Oh, okay, so it could be 100%.
It may be, I don't think they're gonna do that.
Right?
I like that thought, though.
I'm just saying.
I know.
So the cost,
Absolutely.
Do I have to go up to the?
Well, yeah, that,
Okay.
unless you
I
want to
can talk
repeat the
really loud.
question.
It's just a real short one.
Okay, all right.
Is this a guesstimation or is it correct? Do we have 672 homes that have a usage of water every month in our community? And are there 158 businesses that are billed for water usage in our
There's
municipality every month? I'm shocked.
every month, so 672 is actually the number of meters.
The meters, but how
Yep.
many are actually being used? That
At
have,
that time, that was how many were being used.
and 158 businesses,
Meters.
meters. So how many people are using is what I'm interested in. Cause there's a lot of meters that I'm aware of that there's no usage.
They do still pay on them. Yep, if they have 2 meters on one building, they're paying on
Okay,
both of those. Like,
they wouldn't be,
158
only if
businesses.
it's a separate service though, if it's stubbed in. It's,
I'm just questioning it.
Yep.
No, those are good questions. I'm serious, because that's what
I mean,
we
I was-
want to,
I was surprised, 158 businesses have meters.
Yeah.
In our small community. I can
and
see
hopefully
that.
we'll have one more coming in,
That's right.
or more, yeah, so,
Hopefully more.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, go ahead. Come on in.
You said wastewater was just for Donelin.
I think
Is
it's
there a
up-
comprehensive map of what's included? I guess
Yes.
I'm curious because I'm in Parkview and I guess that's the main reason I'm here is,
so the part,
okay. So,
this part in red has actually been revised, correct, Terry?
okay,
To not include this portion going north, west, and south.
the north part is, but not the west and south.
Okay. Just not this.
On the, we're on the map, yeah.
so will there be, is there gonna be a phase 5? Is there a plan to take sewer up to Parkview or what's not done after phase 4 is done? I guess I was under the general impression that phase 4 would be it.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not in city limits,
No,
but,
no.
but I would
No.
I would welcome the city to come out there, so
Yeah.
bring some sewer and take care of the road.
Got water there,
Yeah,
done anything with sewer yet,
okay. That's all I got.
but you do
Yeah.
have the asbestos pipe out there.
By the way, I'm in
You
the
know-
same boat. I'm southwest of Aberdeen, and I've invited the city many times to come down and annex me in. They say, no, they don't want me. I'm too far out.
Yeah, and I think, one of the, some of the things that, I think the council is looking at is what can we do to maybe help modify things if they need to be modified, but still, if everything goes hopefully as planned, still go through with the project with the least impact upon our residents. I hope I didn't say that. If I misspoke, please, correct me, but I think what we, that's what we're attempting to do. Nobody's saying yes or no.
Well, at least this way we have hard numbers, so there's no misfacts in the public, where at least that way you guys and the public can see exactly what we are seeing, and then we can start that discussion
Yes.
about phase 4.
Just all these surcharges are killing people, especially ones that are on social security or limited funding. And a good deal of the people in Miller are that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have told me they're thinking about leaving. They moved
Yeah.
here
You
because they.
can come up to the
Come
microphone
on,
if you
yeah,
want.
Sass, if you want to, yeah.
They moved here because they were closer to family, and I have gotten quite a few emails since I've been putting these letters on Facebook. And they said they can no longer afford to live here because it's just too much on the surcharges. And I mean, when you pay over $60 a month, not including the electrical surcharge, because that varies on how much electricity you use, you're paying, some people are paying well over $100 a month, which is over $1,200 a year. That's a lot of money when you're on Social Security or living on limited funds. People just can't afford it. And you keep adding them and adding them. The city needs to quit spending so damn much money. And don't tell me they have, well, I'm not saying this council or even the last council, but you go back a few more years. Unfortunately, I've been here too damn long. But you go back a few more years, and like the load management system they put it in, use it for a couple years, and boom, they quit using it. Even some of the boxes are still in the houses but never got tore out. It's just a waste of money, and there was thousands and thousands of dollars spent on that project. There's places that need to be cut back and hold off on some of these surcharges until something gets paid off. It's just getting to be a big ripoff. It's just like, I have a house out there, I have a storage building and another storage building. Well, I don't mind paying one storm sewer charge, which is clear down a block from me. There is no storm sewers near me. There's one a block away, but yet the storage building on my lot, they put a storm sewer charge on it. So I'm paying 2 storm sewer charges. I have no storm sewers. It's just greed, greed, greed. And a lot of people are hurting. Even I was in the post office the other day, and they don't know what they're gonna do. Every time they send their bill in to the main office, wherever they send the bill to, they get called up and said, well, what the hell are you putting on the bill?
Yeah.
They showed me their bill. I about dropped my teeth. It almost made mine look little.
Yeah.
And last month, mine was $750. And I keep my thermostat set at 58. Can't turn it down anymore because everything would freeze. And the only other place, I'll quit growing a garden. That way I don't have to use any more water. Can stay at the minimum water. But you're just hurting people by doing this. And I can't blame people for saying they're leaving or they aren't coming here. And I sure the hell won't recommend moving here because of the prices. If it wasn't for all the damn books I'd have, I'd move.
Okay.
Because of the way the city is. Throw a stick of dynamite in the house and blow it up. Be done with it.
Well, we don't want you to do that and stuff.
Well, it's tempting.
Well, okay,
Over what
all
the
right.
city's getting so damn greedy about.
Well, I would, I would, being a part of it for as long as I have, I don't think it's greed. I think it's where some past councils and the present council look at more of a necessity. If you, Terry's got some pictures of not only some, ground that was dug up, that sewer lines weren't even connected. The tops were broken off. That we got lead, we were, when I was mayor before, we were losing water. We were being charged more water. Terry, maybe you want to, would you like to address it? Okay, but, sure, you know, no, I don't want to belabor this too, because all this is just moving forward with the application for the grant. It's not a discussion whether or not we're gonna do phase 4 or not.
But I also don't wanna keep pushing it back too.
No,
We have to have a
no,
real
well, we-
conversation about,
Yeah.
instead of just getting a little bit farther. It's still a very real conversation that we need to have from now till June. if we're
Absolutely,
doing that.
absolutely, and I welcome that. And what we could probably do tonight, we can put to rest some misnomers. And one of those misnomers were, you know, as far as, you know, do we use the word waste, or we do, you know, what term? I think we're in a society right now, we're hooked up, you know, on how we use terms for a particular situation or whatever. I don't care if it's political, I don't care what it is. And to overgeneralize things, we can't overgeneralize. But I do know we had a tremendous water loss at one time that we were paying on that we weren't able to recoup because nobody was we were losing it. And we did shut-off valves. There was a time, if there was a water line break, we had to shut off the entire town. The entire town, and by the time we got things fixed, the hydrants blown out with regard to the water, pretty much drained the water tower. Okay? With regard to what's happened lately, Terry can probably shut down a block or two. Okay? Those, and if you have a chance to look at some of the pipes that your water went through before they ever got in your household, my gosh, I mean, and we didn't know that until they're lead pipes and they're corroded on the inside, and I hope I'm using the term corroded correctly. And that's a huge concern. I think, you know, that's an injustice to the city to put its residents in that, you know, that particular situation could be detrimental to your health. And, you know, so that's the concern. But I do appreciate the discussion. And I think sometimes when we have these, it will, you know, it will put to rest some maybe misconceptions, and then also have a better understanding, you know, with regard to we pay the same church surcharges. I put my propane bill in with your SAS, and I'm not very far behind as far as what I pay monthly.
I bet you keep your house warmer than 58.
Well, okay. Yeah.
I would like to address a few things that are said here. When I hear about people moving away from town because of surcharges, or we're gonna try to suggest people not to move here because we have surcharges, I don't know where you're gonna go. Because all of these small towns, they're all the same age as Miller. They all have the exact problems that we do. And if they don't have the surcharges now, they're gonna.
Not Northwestern Public.
No, and they'll learn to space them out. If these would've been spaced out over.
But we can't fix that now.
Yeah.
The time
Yeah.
to space it out would have been
Yeah.
40 years ago.
Okay, wait. This is what we don't want. We're gonna carry this out, and these can be, you know, debatable. But I will add to, and if you want to speak, and I'll have Keisha come up next. Miller's ahead of the ballgame. We are way ahead as far as water and sewer with regard to other communities in the state. I think the only community that is ahead of us with regard to our size is Ipswich. And I think they have come down in the past, you know, to speak to some of the residents and just more or less And it's a growing pain. I know it is. And again, we feel the same thing. And we have a huge, huge obligation to you on both ends with regard to how fast we go forward and what we do. I mean, this council and past council have not take this issue lightly. Okay? Keisha, Will, do you want anything more?
The last thing that I was gonna say is that I have a piece of property that uses electricity that is not in city limits of Miller. And my rate there is more than Miller's Electric with the surcharge.
I live on a farm, I have the same thing.
It is.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Keisha.
wait,
I
okay.
can't get out.
That's all right.
I have a business in town and I live on a farm. My farm is more expensive than my business in town, and I pay a commercial rate, not residential.
Okay.
So,
Keisha, then Bill, yeah.
check your numbers.
Come on, Keisha.
I just have some questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if this is for Ted or the council, but why is this project so important to our community? Nobody's talked about the why, or why are we talking about doing this, maybe?
Well, and I think this,
What's the scope of the project?
Yeah.
yeah. And I think when the whole project, and, you know, some previous council members can correct me, I think when the project was put in place, and Ted, there was different phases that they were going to go through. And then once they finished like phase one, okay, then we're gonna go to phase two. And then, am I correct? And then after that was completed, we're going to go to phase three. Well, phase three has been completed. And so now we're projecting to go in, you know, see what happens, you know, to go into, to phase four. So each of the phases were, and correct me if I'm wrong, were put in place with regard to a systematic way of moving forward and completion.
Okay.
So the
That-
northeast quadrant of City of Miller is the main focus of Phase 4. It would finish up the water project in the city limits. It is to replace asbestos cement transite pipe that is very brittle, and when it fails, it doesn't leak, it is a major collapse. So,
That is the why.
yes.
There's a piece of it.
So when that gets brittle, which it's already brittle,
You're drinking out of that.
yes.
It's asbestos. This is asbestos pipe.
Ugh, yummy.
And that's what's we're trying to replace.
So
If it's
everywhere
broke out
else,
like that, that's when it's bad, but it's not broke, it's not so bad, but the same way with the lead lines.
so
So can you say where that is again? Because that was another question of mine, of where is this phase
to
4
put it in the
exactly?
most broad scopes, there's little blocks here and there, but mainly it is the northeast quadrant of Miller that they are paying for everybody else's water line that got fixed already.
So what streets are those? Can you,
It's in the blue.
everything in the blue?
In the blue, yeah.
Okay. Okay,
And there's quite a bit of this left out there yet too.
okay.
It's lead.
So was phase 4 part of our initial project when they started planning on all this? Maybe that's a question for Ted.
Just a quick, originally when we started this, and I think it was 2015, 2016 timeframe, there was a $35 million project that we split over 4 phases, and this is the last of that one.
Thank,
And then one other thing
So
before I
yes.
lose it, when that was put in, what was the estimated age of when that was put in? Pre-1950? And at that time, the lifespan of that utility, we have surpassed by decades.
So,
Stuff breaks really easy.
Yep. So we're already decades past the lifetime of that utility.
right,
That is why everything come at one time, is because everything was installed at once, for the most part. But we don't have a lot of people here with firsthand experience from the 30s and 40s of the age. So we are finding out this stuff as things break. But what we know is everything is at a critical time where eventually we're gonna have major failures all at once.
okay. So one of the questions I've been hearing in the community is why didn't we space these projects out farther. Is that because of the funding come available, or because there wasn't like maintenance that we could do on these, or, they had to be done because of how they obviously deteriorated at the same time?
People can stop me when I keep going.
I've worked here 28 years.
Yeah, that might be a question.
Come on up to the
for you.
mic,
Terry,
Yeah.
come on up.
The first 20 years, they didn't do anything. So, you know, and
They
probably
mean the
did
city
the same
council?
before that.
The city council?
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So is there maintenance that you can do on these so that we don't get in the same situation 75 years from now, when we have to tack on more surcharges?
Yeah, you just have to go. I don't know of any problems with the newer stuff at this time.
Okay.
I mean, some could come up, but.
Plastic pipe is
I've
going
seen
back
some
in.
Pipe that's been in the ground for 20 years, that's what they're using now, and it still looks like new.
Yep, so there's no more of this pipe going back in. Plastic
And we-
PVC pipe is going back in, so it's a safer product.
And we had a 42% water loss before we started the project, and we're down to 7 now.
That was one of my questions.
See, that's, yeah, thank you, Terry.
Good
I was
job,
gonna
Terry.
say those numbers, but I'd have messed them up, so,
42%.
Loss.
down to 7. And this is in fairness to past council member. I know you'll have a water main break. But until you take a look at the pictures when the project was starting to be undertaken, I would be remiss if most people weren't surprised as far as the condition of some of our sewer lines and some of our water lines, you know, with regard to that. And unbeknownst, because they're underground. I mean, I think about how many water main breaks have we had? Yeah, lots before. I can remember my first stint on the council, there was a water main break on Christmas, I really believe Christmas Eve.
4th of July, Memorial Day.
And that Christmas Eve was cold, and yeah, it was not a pleasant situation. So, you know, that's helped come alleviate some of that stuff. Go ahead.
I just have a couple more. So if the council decides not to move forward with phase 4, for those residents that live in that blue area up on the screen, when can they expect services for their houses, since they're paying for folks that already have been done?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it is a good question. And I'm not gonna put word, because all this is speculation.
Right.
But, and Ted, you correct me if I'm wrong, and anybody else, I think more and more communities are going to be applying for grants that fewer communities are applying for right now. And when more communities do so, how much of that pie are we gonna get? You know, that we don't know, but that's you know, and that's why in some respect, you have to, you don't feel good about the numbers. You don't feel good about the surcharge. But the thing of it is, in 5, 10, 15 years, that could be a heck of a lot worse. I mean, I think, Ted, am I?
What we do know is we know the interest rates if we do the project right now. Interest rates will not be that low for what we have them locked in for quite a while. So we could wait 10, 15 years, but then that $14 surcharge could be 30 or 40, depending on interest rates. It could go back eventually to those rates at some point. I personally don't have a hopeful thought that they will, but if that's another danger to realize with this is if we don't pull a trigger now on it, that $14 a month rate for houses could be way worse. It could be double. Double's easy to think of with the way rent rates.
Every time you lose a resident or a business, then the existing surcharges are gonna have to go up.
I took the liberty of looking up what some of the electric rates were in Sioux Falls, Watertown.
I'm not talking about.
I know,
Well,
but I'm
but
saying that
yes.
if businesses aren't leaving those places, which they aren't because they're growing like crazy, and our rates are less than that, it's hard for me to think that we're gonna lose businesses because our rates are less than Sioux Falls, Watertown. I just don't see that as a viable problem.
A couple more. So you said July would be, you would know if you got grant funding, correct?
End of June, the funding package will be in place.
Okay, so if they would decide to move forward, when would those surcharges be in effect? That's a
On
big
the-
if. I'm just,
With the first 3 phases, we implemented them right away.
right away.
Like, as soon as construction started, even before construction started, so we could start paying our bills.
Okay.
I want to, and again, correct me wrong, the surcharges that are charged are set, they're not set by us.
That was gonna be my next question.
Those are set because of the financial assistance we have, or we receive. Okay, so, Bill,
Let me butt in here, but,
do you want,
surcharges is.
I know you don't like it, but,
Kind of a nasty word.
yeah,
But the city's always had debt, always has. And the state or the fed, whoever come out and said, in your bills now, you've got to separate what's paying your debt. That's where it all come from. Like the electric, it was 8.5 cents a kilowatt hour. So we had to split it out to what the debt was. It's still 8.5 cents a kilowatt hour, but there was 2 notes in there was paying off. And that's pretty much the same with water and sewer. I mean, it has gone up. But I believe if the state would have said you have to say what's going to their bills, and you just raised your rates what you needed, this room probably wouldn't be full. Because you look at the bill now, and it's nasty to look at.
yeah.
But the state, the feds made us do that, to where if it was just the bills to cover it, like I said, the electric rates did not go up. It was just split out, and we're still cheaper than co-ops, Northwestern, all of them. We're still cheaper than them. It's just that the bill's hard to read.
Yeah.
That's what it is, so.
Okay, and that, and that's a good point too, but I also, I think in fairness, I think what government tries to do is they try to stay transparent. All of a sudden, you got a 14, or you got a 15, or you got a $20 increase over a period of time, you kept on accumulating that with your utility, and what the heck is going on? Why is it going up? Well, now what you can do is you can come in and look at each surcharge, see the debt on each surcharge, and see the amount of time that when it's going to be paid off. So now you can see that without just having a one lump sum bill. Am I correct on that and stuff? So another thing I want to say on behalf of this council, and I believe, last councils, and stop me if I'm misspeaking, there's a recommendation on how much we charge for water and sewer. We are below that recommendation. Because we want to minimize the impact in each of the households as much as we can. Am I correct on that? And so we're probably, charging you what we have to charge you here with regard to the surcharge, but we're not charging as much as maybe recommended with regard to the utilization of the water and sewer, if that makes sense. So anyway, so it might look, we're doing what we can, but still be responsible for maintaining the water and sewer and the electrical department and all that stuff. So anyway.
Keisha, did you have more?
What you're doing is you're probably asking some questions other people want to have
Yeah.
asked, so I appreciate that.
Can the city contribute funds that they already have from either their checking or savings accounts to this project?
I believe there's no penalty for paying towards a loan. I've never been told one, I guess.
Like, I understand
No.
you have to, when you do a project like this, have to have the surcharge on, but if the city has an extra $1 million,
Oh, I see.
can they put that towards the lump of this project?
Yes.
Yes.
Does it
That's
change the
that's an easy
surcharge?
answer.
Yes.
Yes.
Or not
Yes.
until it's paid off
Yes.
in full?
But at the Tammy, you repeat that.
If they would pay $1 million, does the surcharge go down, or would the surcharge stay the same for that project?
Okay,
Or that
so
surcharge?
just to avoid confusion, I'm just gonna run from the beginning on that. What we're doing right now is we're putting together, and I'll reference back to the first page that I talked about here. And the stuff in yellow is where the money's coming from. And so when we talked to the city, we visited about what the city has. And so the city has pledged already $226,842 towards phase 4. And the state matched that dollar for dollar, and that's for the ARPA money, or America Rescue Plan Act money. So they matched that. The city said, hey, we'll use our ARPA money that we received as a city directly from the feds, and that was the local match in this case. So if the city wanted to pledge an additional $1 million of local match, they could do that, and then reduce the amount that we're asking for from the state in funding from the state. So in this case, if the city were to contribute $1 million, we'd only be asking for $100,000 from the state in order to cover what that balance is. My understanding of visiting with the city is we need the 1.1 million because we don't have enough in the checking account or savings account to support that at this time.
But say like going to an older loan, if they, not phase 4, but phase 3, if they paid a large sum of money towards that project, towards that surcharge, what everybody's getting charged, would the surcharge stay the same until it's paid in full?
The surcharge needs to remain in place in full until the loan is paid off.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and that's a good clarification, I think, yes.
Only have one more.
Come, bring it on.
They're good questions.
Yeah.
Are there utility assistant programs through the state for these folks that might be having a hard time paying utilities? And
Turnovers.
do we have information to provide to citizens if this is seriously a need in our community?
The main one we see come through our office is called Low Income Energy Assistance Program with the state. And it's for those with low income, and those who would be eligible can get funding from the state for their electric lines.
Okay.
We have seen a couple of things come from Grove, South Dakota for water, but not very often.
Okay.
It's mostly that LEAP program.
So what does the process look for those folks that need to apply for those funds? Do they call the city first?
We can
or-
definitely help them out.
Okay,
However, if they just go online to LEAP, the state assistance, that's the main place you want to go to apply for those funds.
and do Miller residents use that program to your knowledge?
Yes,
Okay,
several.
good, okay, that's all I have.
But that's good information for some who don't know it's out there that could greatly benefit from it. That's huge. Any other?
Good.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that gentleman was
Okay.
talking.
So is it my understanding with phase 4, the way I look at that map, I don't see Third Avenue being worked on in front of my house?
No. This is water.
There is no storm sewer improvements. Are you done with the storm sewer?
No. More than likely not.
Because that's an ongoing problem, and I know you're aware of it, but, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Randy.
The previous council should have never put a house there.
Okay, my name is Kenneth Cooper. I have a house in Ree Heights, and I get billed every month from Northwestern Public, and it's only.
This is for electricity or? for-
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And there's no longer nobody that live in there. And I get billed $15 a month, every month. And I have 2 freezers gone and a refrigerator. And I was wondering, when is this it just came up $100 a month for unoccupied houses here. What is the cause of that? And when is it gonna be done?
Okay, so right now, if you have all three services with the city of Miller, electric, water, and sewer, your minimum charge, regardless of any usage, is $128.74 a month. And that's including your base fees and
Even
the
if there's
surcharges.
nobody living there?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's all, for all three services, but in Heights, you're talking just your electric. So I'm assuming the $15 a month is just your meter fee, just your base fee.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So when is this gonna be done? I mean, is it gonna be forever?
So these loans are 30 and 40-year loans. The electric loan, however, is gonna be done in 2035.
I mean-
But that will not make your overall rate go down.
It's running into our taxes, our property taxes. I
We
mean,
don't charge
that
the property
just
taxes on
ain't
your monthly
right.
bill.
Yeah,
That's a county assessor.
We don't, that's,
Where's our property taxes
well,
going to?
that's not us.
That goes to the county.
That goes to the county.
County gets
And then we get a portion of that from prior years.
Okay.
Okay. So the grants that the city of Miller gets, why isn't that paid for our pipes and stuff?
It is going to pay for the pipes. Yep. Everything we've done to
And,
date
and then you need more money?
to do a phase 4 because we haven't done that construction yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just have one question. There's been talk about a housing development east of the football field. Who is gonna be responsible for putting infrastructure there? Is that gonna be another phase, or who's ever in charge of the development, are they gonna be responsible for putting infrastructure in?
That,
Per the, codes per city, if it is, something is zoned residential in the city limits, they are responsible for the infrastructure in that development. But we are responsible for bringing utilities up to that development. So,
Okay, but in the development itself, who's ever in
So-
charge of that, they're gonna have to pay for everything. That's not gonna be something put on the taxpayers.
correct, for what we have, in this phase,
Whoops.
And that's what happens when you don't pay the electric bill.
Yeah, I understand up to the property,
Yeah.
but I
yep,
was just.
on hand received a grant for a certain part amount for that project, but then they would have to pay for, further, expenses beyond that grant.
So the city won't be
No,
responsible for
we
any
just
of
have to
those?
get the services
the
up to
property.
them. Correct.
Okay,
And
that's
that
my
is-
question.
That is part of this project, but
Yeah, I
we don't really
understand
have a
that.
choice in that because that is, city code is that we are responsible to bring
Yeah,
utilities
I understand that,
to
yeah.
them.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
no, good
Thanks.
question.
Thanks.
You know, yes.
So on here, it has the $7 loan 1, $7 loan 2. Is that dependent on 5,000 gallons, or is that a flat fee?
Flat fee.
That's flat fee though. It's
Flat
not
fee
based
would
on
be the-
usage, correct?
Correct.
That gets to be a decision for the city, how they want to charge that back, whether it's on a flat, part of the flat base fee, or whether they want to do it on a per 1,000 gallon. It's a little bit more difficult for the city to guesstimate what the charge is going to be if it's on a usage basis, because not everybody uses 5,000. So a lot of times what we see on this, when cities are charging, it is they raise the base fee up in order to pay for it.
Yeah, we charge by the, yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Please.
I hear the frustration in everybody's voice, and I understand it. And I think maybe it would help some of that frustration if there was a way that the city could look at some of the existing loans that you have, and if they have a smaller balance on them, if you could pay some of those off to alleviate some other service charges, I think these people would feel a little bit less frustration because they would begin to see that you are trying to help us instead of just adding more and more and more on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm, that's just coming from,
Thank you. I appreciate that because we have been. From the onset, before Shayla and Cindy and I are going to be working on this with regard to the one loan that we could probably closest to paying off is a water tower. And I'm not sure when and if we're going to, but that one, but that's, I think, $3 and, I think the service charge on that is $3.94, so almost $4. So that's something we have been trying to look at, to trying to see what we can do that. So that has been a topic of discussion, I assure you that, so. Yes, ma'am.
So your different phases, your 1, 2, 3, and 4, is that just location? Or is that where we're at this
Good question.
moment in time? You know, as far as replacing pipes?
Okay, question is, as far as 1, 2, 3, and 4 phases, with regard to how did that come to be with regard to that?
How do you move on from 1 to 2 to 2 to 3, and here we are wanting money for 4?
We hit the worst parts of town first,
The what parts?
the worst parts.
Where the pipe was the worst, where they had the most
Okay,
loss.
well,
To the second and then the third.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't like this part of town has to have all these adjustments made, and then you move to this part, and that's phase 2. Okay.
Okay, I got another question. Okay, now, when, these guys get done with all them pipes, notice there's a lot of reworking it, digging it back up again. Who pays for that? We gotta pay for that too, to get redug up and hooked up? Her place had to get re-hooked up.
The Blue House, we had to dig it back up to hook it up to the city.
Right.
Outside that.
That was an exception.
Now, who pays for that?
We didn't. City paid.
Page, yeah.
Well, it was supposed
And
to
then
be
it gets taken,
Right.
Well, see, we had a couple situations. The one we just finished that was on the highway, there was a sewer issue, but with the ground settling and everything, it actually, how many breaks, there were a few breaks in the water, so that had to be fixed. And so the city, took care of that.
and then the
uh,
city bills us for that.
No, you're not getting billed, no. No.
Okay.
Right. There's a couple of projects that had to be done. One sewer with regard to Ron Blanchard, and this goes back to when the water and sewer all put in. People used to hook up from one place to another place to another place to another place and hook into the main. That's where you get trouble, okay? Well, when they were putting the sewer, one area of town in, there was a hookup that was missed. And because of more occupants in that home, created a situation where we had to now directly hook that water line or that sewer line up to the main line and stuff. I can tell you stories. We had a gentleman a number of years ago, and Bill and Terry can help me out here, where a person was redoing their basement, and right underneath the basement was a sewer line. And we couldn't let them put the house back on the basement unless they gave us an easement if something happened to that sewer line. And nobody wants to give you an easement to get to a brand-new basement, and we promised them, and the council came through, we rerouted that sewer line down the alley to where it should have been. But at that time, we just needed that. So when you dig up, the ground, Terry's got some pictures, and I hope some of you take the time either tonight or later to come and look at those pictures, the condition of the sewer lines, the condition of the wires that you have to go through to get to the lines. I mean, See, we have a tendency, if we see something structurally that needs to be placed that's visible, we have no problem. But we don't see the structural situation with our water and sewer because it's below ground. But once it's exposed, then you have a little bit more of an idea what we're dealing with and also why it needs to be done. You know, and so that's just kind of a side note and stuff, so. But I do, Terry's got a number of pictures back there that kind of, it might be a little bit of more of an I get it, or an understanding of why the project has. Jan?
And remember when over by the school, where the school used to be, the community center now, the highway fell in? Because there was a sewer line break there, and it washed away the ground, and the highway fell in. We had the same problem between the banks, and we had to get that fixed, and I think that was on phase 1. So, I mean, it fixed a lot of problems. There was a lot of problems underground that have been fixed by phase 1, 2, and 3.
That a lot of people aren't aware of, you know.
I tried.
No, I know. Yeah.
My articles are too long to read.
I think there's also a misconception here that we're all oblivious to these surcharges. We're not. I don't like them. I hate them just as much as everybody else does. But I also don't want to drink my water through an asbestos or a lead pipe. I want my toilet to work. And
They do have it, they recommend you put filters on your water.
And I don't, you know, we talk about the necessity of phase 4 and who gets these upgrades and who doesn't. I don't see how, where, you know, I got lucky and where my house is at, I got done on most of it phase 1 and then on phase 2 as well. But there are people, I mean, look at the map. There are a lot of people that do not have these upgrades yet, but yet they're paying for everybody else's. I mean, how do you justify quitting the project when you get to them and say, nope, sorry, we're not gonna pay the $14 a month, you have to deal with these wore-out garbage utilities, but you have to pay for everybody else's upgrades? I mean, that's wrong too, I think.
Why is the electricity bill run right in with the water bill?
Cause it's provided,
I mean,
it's
there's
provided by the
Mid
city,
Dakota, and then there's the city of Miller. Why does them two run together?
because they're both provided by the city.
With Mid Dakota?
Mid Dakota's got their own water. We're not Mid Dakota, we're the city of Miller.
We buy the water from Mid-Dakota, we buy the electricity from WAPA, Missouri Basin, probably some from Northwestern.
We're a bulk user from Mid-Dakota, where Heights is individually served by Mid-Dakota.
Yeah. They
So-
got their own electricity bill and they got their own water bill.
Yeah. But we have the utilities, both the electric and the water in the city of Miller. And that's why it comes together.
That's also why when you were losing water, the city had to pay the bill. No matter if nobody else was paying for it.
Yeah.
Because you were buying bulk water. I mean,
In the last 3 or 4 years, how many times has the city of St. Lawrence been without power for at least 8 to 15 hours? Multiple times, every winter it seems like it happens.
Or Northwestern?
Yep. And then, Bill, when's the last time that we were without power for more than 8 hours?
I was here worked here 34 years and twice we're out for 13. So we got Northwestern Wales was one end and East River on the other end. So most of the time you can.
The power has switched many times in the last few years, and all you saw was a flicker of a light.
If you saw that.
It's
No.
happened several times
Just
this
like
winter
what
and
we
nobody
had
even
in
knows that your power's getting switched.
Not in Miller. If you live in St. Lawrence, it probably wouldn't have it.
That's why we keep going with city, I don't wanna say owned, but city supplied power, where we have the authority with that utility, and we can upgrade and just pay for our upgrades. We're not paying for the bulk line, so to say. And it's worked out so far. I mean, we have a very good and very streamlined services, but that also comes with money.
As I recall, the city of Miller is like maybe the second lowest municipal electric rate in the state. I think Watertown is the only municipal who is less than the city of Miller. Which is it like 8.5 cents, 8.6 cents or 7 cents a kilowatt hour?
I don't have them specifically, but yeah.
Actually, the one that I looked up on EIA.gov before I came here tonight, Watertown was at 913 kilowatt hour.
So Miller's less.
Yes.
Miller is at 918.
918?
Yes.
Okay, so
Within a nickel.
Yeah.
I also have used a tremendous amount of power from Dakota Energy. My electric bill out there is no comparison to what I pay at my house in town. No comparison. It's 12 to 14 cents a kilowatt hour versus 8.5 or 9, 9.25, whatever you're telling me. There's just no comparison. Miller is far cheaper than any other source. No comparison.
and that's the surcharge and your consumption put together.
Put together, absolutely.
I have Dakota Energy's billing statement in front of me, and they're at 12.5 cents a kilowatt hour. And their minimum facility charge is $60 a month.
On top of that.
Right,
Now,
for a residential.
in fairness to them, I mean, we get a WAP allocation, they don't. They've got one customer for 3 miles, we've got 1,000 meters in 18 miles. You know, so they do a good job, I mean.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And
But that also speaks to why the city is the one just, running the distribution of that electricity, because we can do it more affordably.
Yeah, because if you get it for our system, the allocation will go with it, and the rates will go up.
Yes.
that's important information for everybody to know too. It's just kind of brings everything into circle with regard to what this, the city has, the history of the city with regard to what has taken place, so. Okay,
This here's a deal that South Dakota's got going on right now. We have to find all the lead in the whole town. Every town has to do it in South Dakota. I think in the whole US. And you gotta tell them where all the lead is in your town by October 16th to 24. And we already identified most of that with all these projects.
So we're ahead of the game.
Yeah, you need to get rid of the lead lines.
One thing about paying the bills down too, is keep in mind, the city has to keep in reserve, 6 months in reserve on cash. In case we have a disaster here, those surcharges still have to be paid.
Yes.
Regardless if the town's wiped out or not. So paying things down is all great, but you also have to have that money kept in reserve that you can't touch. The
Yeah.
city has to have that.
yeah. Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate the turnout. I do. You have the timeline with regard to when we're going to get the numbers back, what we're going to be allocated with regard to grants. You also have the information with regard to the surcharge too that has to be that would be implemented if we went ahead, with the Phase 4 project. We're in this together. We are. There's at least one of us here as well is working on a semi-fixed income. I get it. And, I work a half a day, but I still, I just have X number, so we understand that. And so with regard to that, and that's why, some of the decisions in the past, as well as moving forward, are taken with a great deal of consideration and a great deal of understanding. And I just hope our residents realize that. And we're not unapproachable. Dustin and I went over to Household because there's a young lady retired and on a fixed income and was concerned about her electrical rates. And when we left her residence, she was reassured that you know, she was in good hands with the, you know, the city electricity and stuff, so. And, all her concerns and misunderstandings were put to rest. And, so,
I would just like to say one thing from where I come from when I'm weighing these decisions is I'm constantly trying to get all the information so people can reach out to me, because usually I've researched the topic extensively before it even reaches an agenda, because I want to make an informed decision for the current generations that live here and future generations. All the current generations were left with the problem of decades of, it's working now, let's wait, we'll do it some other time. And now we're the generations that have to pay for it. So I'm just trying to set up Miller for the best way for the next 100 years. And then, once we get that, then we can start planning for being a little bit more prepared for when the current infrastructure starts to fail and we have to start doing repairs for it. So then that generation is not faced with the lump sum burden. So, that's all I had.
Yes, sir.
It's not good when your electricity bill is more than your house payment. And there's well, if you go around town, there's a lot of for sale signs in their houses. That's not good either.
okay. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I can tell you one thing.
Okay.
Well, we got like 10 houses. Here's this one.
Terry, do you want to come up? I'm sorry.
That we checked for lead and copper.
You want to start over? Go ahead.
The state requires us to check for lead and copper. They check to see, you know, what's basically flaking off them. The highest level that you can have in your drinking water is 15 for lead, 15 parts per billion. And we've had houses come in at 48, 40 and 48.
That's not good.
So, that's not safe.
No. And see, and that's some of the information that needs to get out with regard to that. I mean, we see other communities in, I think Flint, Michigan, you know, and the reason I say Flint, I have a brother lives close there. So, that situation hit hard, for me and my family with regard to concern of my brother and his family.
And that's where a lot of that came from,
Yep.
was because of that.
Yep.
So that was before you did any of the phases? The 48?
During, and
During,
before.
okay.
During and
Not
before.
after.
No, I mean, all.
I just wanna clarify.
Yeah.
Because I know you came to my house, that's why
A
I was
couple
asking.
of yours was good, but a couple that we went by was like in the 40s. And after we replaced from the street up into their property line, it dropped to 20. But,
And they may still have lead in their house.
yeah,
In the
anything
plumbing.
built before 1986, or is it 84? One of them, could have lead in their water.
Correct.
Cause you got lead solder on your copper pipes,
Mhm.
so.
And
Just
this is,
because you get it replaced out in the street don't mean that you're still not getting them.
and that's where you
Should
said
check their
it
house.
before, you know, recommendation as far as a filter within the house. Okay,
For drinking and.
for drinking, yes.
It's okay to shower in it, but.
Okay. Anything else with regard to this? I wish we had this many at each of our meetings. I'm serious. I do. I think the more input we have, and I think, us listening to you, but I also, what each individual, Ted and Terry and everybody else, Cindy, and us had to share with you and past council members, I think the more information that's out there, we can dispel some misinformation and, you know, which, you know, makes it easier going forward. I mean, you know, still have to, you know, pay for what needs to be done or what will be done, but it makes it, that decision a little bit more, you know, easier and stuff with regard to.
Understandable.
Understandable, thank you. And it's not, there are some things not easy, but at least we try to make them understandable with why certain things are supported and maybe others are not, so. Anything else? Okay, Ted?
I don't have anything.
Ted, I really appreciate it. And then, from now on, that number that you didn't recognize, just put my name, name beside. Well,
Do not
I
answer.
called Ted and I said, and he said, where are you? Are you the Barnett Center? I said, yeah, well, I'll be right down and stuff. So he was upstairs watching my son. I was downstairs taking time for our athletes last Thursday, when we were at Northern indoor meet. So, yeah, so anyway, thank you. And thank you for all you do. I just, unless, you've had the opportunity to sit in these chairs, you have no idea what this young man does for our community and for the northeast part of South Dakota. Not only Miller, but Han County, but the entire northeast region of South Dakota. So, Ted, I really appreciate it, and I want to, thank you for all you do and stuff, so. Yeah, thank you, so.
And as a reminder, city council meetings are public. So every time you want to come on down, every Monday, every first and third Monday of each month. And if the holiday falls on Monday, it's usually on Tuesday. You're more than welcome.
Encouraged.
Encouraged, absolutely.
With that, this is the last meeting, or
Oh,
will
no.
you be here one more
One more
meeting?
meeting.
So we get to have your presence at least one more.
You are lucky.
I know we are. Okay, then we'll bring a close to the public hearing, we'll move on. The swimming pool heater, Terry.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, too.
Yes,
that
thank you for
are
coming.
leaving.
Yes, yes. And please, if you have any questions, please reach out.
Okay, the next thing's,
We can get the chairs, ma'am.
Don't, we can do, we can
We'll
do
get the
that.
chairs. Thank you.
Some people you're not gonna argue with.
I just say thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
ready?
Yes.
I was hoping to have some prices on a pool heater, because I'm pretty sure the one we got probably won't make it this year. But we're gonna try to get it going if we can. But I don't know what the lead time is on, if we can't, get that going, we're gonna have to order a new one. And I was hoping to have the prices for them, but I'm thinking it's gonna be around 15,000 or something like that. I was supposed to have them today, but I didn't get them. So I guess I was wanting permission from the council to have the committee, if we come up with that, to let them decide.
Just to clarify for people listening or watching, without that heater, the pool doesn't open,
Yeah.
correct?
Right.
And I received some of this, some additional information with regard to the temperature. Is something to take the water out of a well that used to be. It'd be a certain temperature, bringing it in from the river is a lot colder, and it has to be what, Terry?
70.
It has to be 70 degrees before we can allow anybody to swim in that pool. Okay?
If you're waiting for the sun, it might be July.
Yeah. So that.
Or August.
Or August, yes, so.
Radiant heat.
How much more efficient will it be? So you don't go
I
through all that
don't know.
propane?
I don't know.
I bet it'll be a lot more efficient.
I would think so. Wanting to replace.
I can't answer that. I don't know that either.
Tell me how much propane.
I
it
guess-
goes through in the summer, right now.
I can tell you, when you first started, it goes through about 1,000 gallons every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. It's a huge
Yeah.
expense.
If I could answer that, I'm not so sure we didn't, and I think, I don't know if it's the original heater when I was mayor before, if that was put in, because I remember
Yeah,
that was
that was
about,
bad.
yeah, so.
Who was that, Mayor?
That was, what, 10, how many years? I don't know. Will, was I mayor when you were in
You're
school?
I was a senior when you were, last time you were
We were in high school. We were in high school.
It's been a couple years.
We were in your government class.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was commenting. I wonder how many times getting ready from after Pastor Will to the time the council meeting had, I wonder how many times my government class was that quiet, waiting for the beginning of the start of class. I was kind of, anyway.
Once it's warmed up, it usually stays warm,
Yeah.
But we lose a lot of water too because of the cracks in the pool.
Yeah, it's a huge expense.
Yeah, it is.
It is an expense.
But a lot of that expense is incurred because of the cracks, you know, because of having to reheat something or going back in.
Yeah, reheat it after you fill it up.
So basically what you're asking is the council's permission to give the
Let
committee.
committee decide on the pool heater.
Do you have a ballpark that you said 15,000
I'm just guessing.
guessing?
I would
That's
say
what I
if
was
you're not
looking
gonna
at.
be able to open, it's
No.
something that has to be
Yeah.
done,
I mean, I'm
so.
gonna look for
gotta
the
have
best
it.
deal.
Yeah. In fairness to Terry, he's been on this for a while, and there's a person, at least one, said he'd get back to him, and he hasn't gotten back to him yet. It's not that he hasn't been on top of the project, because he has.
Yeah, he wants to make sure that he can get it in so much time
Yeah.
if he orders it, and
Yeah. Okay,
so.
I would make a motion, go ahead.
Just to add quick, the 211 fund does have 10,000 budgeted for recreation, which the pool would fall under.
Uh-huh. Even better.
yeah.
Well, I would make a recommendation that the committee is able to approve the purchase of the pool heater.
I'll second it.
Okay, instead of recommendation, we'll entertain that as a motion. So we have a motion, discussion. Hearing none, we have a motion and a second on the table with regard to the committee's discretion to purchase a heater for the swimming pool. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
As soon as I find out, I'll get a hold of Susan, Pat, and Will.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Terry. On pages 11 and 12, you see SPN's Phase 4 invoice, and for a total of $60,200. And for the record, that's invoice for the water storage improvement, final design, and DANR plan approval, and the Miller Phase 4 water final design phase revision to DANR. So that includes those two services.
I'll make a motion, we pay the invoice from SPN.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, motion and second on the table to approve the invoice, SPN Phase 4 invoice for $60,200. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 4 is Helms and Associate invoice for $5,947.22. I almost messed up on that, so you could have corrected me, you know, but.
Thank you. Makes me happy.
And basically, this is for the Miller Airport taxiway reconstruction and access road design.
Move approval.
Second.
Second, discussion. Hearing none, motion on the table to approve the invoice from Helms and Associate for $5,947.22. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Make a motion that we approve the bill, or pay the
Second.
bills?
Second. Motion, discussion. Hearing none.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Well, okay, first of all, we gotta approve.
I thought we
No,
did.
we haven't.
Okay.
Let's
Go
pay
for
them
it.
their
Okay,
bills.
yeah, okay, motion on the, motion and second on the table to approve the bills, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same, motion carries.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.
I have good news, Iowa State won.
Did
Did
they?
they? Woo!
By 7,
Best
Iowa?
news ever, woo!
Iowa.
90,
Yay.
That's
90,
awesome.
93 to 87 or 94 to
That makes me so happy. I'm sure glad I recorded it so I could watch it when I got home.
We didn't record it.
Tom,
We
have
should've.
you met Landon? Okay.
Well, I'll meet you too, but I won't be here when you're here.
Susan Hargens.
Are you ready? You excited for this?
I was city council when I lived in Brentford.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Here's your pen.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.